Hello, this is Professor Weisman's PowerPoint presentation designed to teach the remainder of the criminology course remotely. It can be accessed on Blackboard and on YouTube at Professor Weisman's CJ Courses channel. This is Unit 5 concentrating on geographic profiling. You may enter the discussion board on Blackboard started for Unit 1 and continue. In Unit 5, we will explore geographic profiling and, in particular, the nature and definition of geographical profiling and important concepts within geographic profiling. According to Dr. Kim Rosmo, a recognized leader in this field, geographic profiling is the process of determining the most probable area of an offender's base of activities through an analysis of his or her crime locations. Geographic profiling is an investigative support technique for investigating serial violent crime. Essentially, the process analyzes locations connected to a series of crimes to determine the likely area of the offender's residence. In other words, the technique can help determine spatial behavior of an offender, which can then help to focus law enforcement to investigating a smaller area. An interesting website is on the slide. Let's look at the definitions of the comfort zone and distance decay function. The comfort zone is the area in which serial offenders commit crimes because it gives them a feeling of safety, a sense of security that they can perpetrate the murders without interference, and also to reduce the chances of being caught, especially for psychopathic personalities. The distance decay function is the notion that the further away the regular activity space, that is non-criminal or base living activities, of the serial killer, the less likely that person will engage in predatory criminal behavior. In this area of geographic profiling, we also have the concepts of marauders and commuters. Marauders operate in an area that is in close proximity of their home base or habitual zone, whereas commuters commit crimes outside of their habitual zone. The crime scene itself will contain evidence which can provide information leading to the offender and the victim's prior location, as well as clues as to where they may have gone, and also clues which might depict or explain what actually happened between them. So, collecting and then comparing the clues or evidence from the various crime locations will inform investigators as they develop the offender's patterns, which ultimately can be plotted on a map that may lead to his or her residence. This slide looks at several types of offenders or predators. The first is the hunter. The hunter is one who singles out a specific victim without leaving his or her home territory. In other words, he generally commits crimes where he lives. Then we have the poacher, who travels out of his home territory to hunt for victims. You have to love that term. The next is the troller. The troller seeks to cash in on an opportunity, which is generally some kind of encounter with a potential victim, while the troller is occupied in some other activity, and then he strikes. Think of a clerk performing his duties and getting personal information on a victim in the performance of those duties, and then uses that information to attack. Finally, we have the trapper. The trapper will draw his victim into him using different seemingly harmless situations, such as asking for help to repair a flat tire alongside of the road, or helping to unload a car trunk because his arm is in a sling. Let's look briefly at hunting methods of serial killers. This is in two parts. First, there has to be a search for a suitable victim. And second, a method of attack must be deployed. Here, think of the son of Sam hunting for young couples parked in cars, then shooting them to death. Now we have something called the target or victim backcloth. Target backcloth is important for understanding the physical arrangement of crime sites. The backcloth is created by both geographic and temporal distribution of suitable crime targets or victims across the actual physical landscape that the serial killer may encounter. Bear in mind that we learned that for a crime to occur, there must be a suitable target or victim, a motivated offender, and the absence of a capable guardian. The availability of suitable targets will vary according to neighborhood, for one, and two, the influences of time, day of week, and season. In this slide, we explore physical boundaries such as exits and entrances to freeways, bus stops and train stations, natural formations, and sociological boundaries. Crimes will often cluster or occur around freeway exits and entrances for the reason that it is easy for the perpetrator to enter and leave to find victims and also to escape. Bus stops and train stations are also very active spots in certain areas because the perpetrator can find his or her victims and also escape. Physical boundaries which restrain both the murderer and the victim can include natural formations such as rivers, lakes, oceans, mountains, and even forests. I would also add that sociological boundaries may also affect movement because of racial or ethnic identification. That is, a serial killer may be of one race or ethnic group and may stand out or be more conspicuous and not blend in certain areas that the majority population is of a different racial or ethnic group. In conclusion, geographic profiling can lead to a pattern to shed light on the offender's mobility, methods of transportation, the ability to navigate boundaries, and the residence. We can also use it to help determine an offender's comfort zone, or what's called a spatial anchor. Bear in mind, however, that the murderer may have multiple spatial anchor points, for example, the home, the workplace, and/or residence of another person, such as a significant other.